All right, everyone, I've got 12:31 on my clock, so we're going to get started. I'm Eric Hayden with the National Weather Service in Newport, Morehead City. Shane Kearns is joining us again. He's going to talk about some of the tides along the coast. We continue to try to give you more details as we get a little bit closer. The biggest change, not a lot in terms of impacts. We haven't changed what we've been saying since Sunday. You'll notice on this satellite picture, Erin is trying to develop an eye again. There is still the expectation that there could be fluctuations in strength over the next 24 hours. We're on the upward swing in terms of strengthening. As of the 11 o'clock advisory, top winds are up to 110 miles per hour. Big thing to keep in mind, if Erin gets a little stronger, if Erin weakens in terms of just wind speed overnight, doesn't matter for us. We're still going to have high impacts along our coast. So no matter what happens to the strength, please know that our impacts have not changed. And that means the window for evacuating Hatteras and Ocracoke is really now closing. We saw some minor issues last night at high tide, even less so at the high tide this morning. The real one is coming in tonight, and Shane's going to illustrate that, and it will be for multiple tides through the end of the week. So if you're kind of on the fence about leaving and you're in that mandatory evacuation zone, know that this might be it, because once we have high tide later this evening, it will expect it to get much worse, especially on Highway 12. And we do think it's going to be a long duration event, not just one tide cycle. We're going to go through the next couple slides fairly quickly. You should have this in your email, and they haven't changed. The big thing with this, again, Erin, the top winds are up to 110 miles per hour, but regardless of the strength of the storm, we are already seeing those impacts at the coast, and that will continue right into the day tomorrow, and if not the end of the week. From that satellite and from this wind field, you can see the orange shading. Huge storm expected to continue to get larger with time, so impacts will be expected, especially along the immediate coastline itself. Storm surge warning, largely it is unchanged. Keep a lookout to duck 3 to 4 feet or 2 to 4 feet of storm surge above normally dry ground. We always say those are normally low spots near the ocean that are dry. Even at high tide, they could have 2 to 4 feet of surge. That does not include wave action on top of it, does not take into account dune structure and any washed out dunes and things of that nature. So we do think it's going to be significant, and portions of Highway 12 not passable for potentially multiple days, depending on what happens. The swell height continues to be very impressive. In the office, we saw a lot of pictures and videos of the swell reaching some of our piers. Yesterday was impressive, but it's not Wednesday evening and it's not Thursday. So just keep in mind what you saw yesterday evening is just a taste of what's to come. We do think that will inundate portions of Highway 12, and then we'll talk about North Topsail here in a second as well for some of the issues on the Crystal Coast. We're going to shift gears now. Shane showed you this graphic yesterday. He's going to talk a little bit more about how long lasting it is. And then Shane made something special today, kind of looking at the energy of the waves to give you an idea how far we're going to go from where we've been last night and also earlier this morning in terms of the high tides. So Shane, take it away.
Thanks, Eric. So I showed this yesterday, but just to reiterate, so our swell direction is going to be kind of a very important factor as we get into the next couple of days in this event. So far, everything has been out of the southeast. So the highest swell has been across those southeast facing beaches from North Topsail all the way up to Frisco, and even up a little bit further north of Cape Hatteras up to Rodanthe. As we get through tonight and into tomorrow morning, as the hurricane moves northward and passes us by, the swell is going to change. Swell direction is going to change to be more out of the easterly direction and eventually northeast. So that lingering swell is going to hit those Dare County east-facing beaches specifically hard through Friday and even into the beginning of this weekend. Just to get a sense of that swell energy that's still to come. So the units of this really isn't important. It's just the values and the order of magnitude that we are going to see going forward. So typically our swell energy is going to be anywhere between like 50 to 200. And that's going to be, with like a very small wave, like 3-foot wave, maybe at 11 or 12 seconds. As we have seen already, the swell energy is a lot higher than that. It's probably in the 2,000 to 3,000 range right now, and we saw similar values yesterday evening. As we get forward to the next upcoming high tides, we're going to see that swell energy almost exponentially increase, especially on the Outer Banks. The southeast facing beaches are going to peak, but it's really those, as that swell transitions to the east, is when we're going to get our highest wave heights and the longest period. So the most powerful waves will be coming tonight and into tomorrow morning. So those high tides tonight, tomorrow morning, and also Thursday evening are going to be very significant because of the wave action on top of the water levels. And then as we get into Friday and even into Saturday, you'll see those the easterly facing beaches, especially Avon and points northward, they're going to continue to have that high swell energy. So typically 1,000 to 5,000, that's going to be a very powerful wave. You know, it doesn't seem like it compared to what we're going to peak at, but keep in mind at that point that dune structures will be eroded or damaged, and there's going to be just not a lot of protection left for some of these beaches. Leading into that, so this is the total water level forecast for Duck, which is on the northern Outer Banks. I think this is representative for everywhere on the east facing shore of Dare County. So we're seeing those water levels. We peaked into action stage late yesterday evening. The higher high tide this evening will be kind of similar in terms of water level, a lot more wave action. But then Thursday evening, we could see water levels as high as 2 feet higher than the high tides before it. And there will be a significant overlap of the highest wave energy both Thursday evening and also Thursday morning. Even though it's a lower high tide, the wave action will be, the wave energy will be peaking. So those are the high tides to watch out for, especially. North of Cape Hatteras on Dare County, Friday morning and Friday evening, we're still going to have that powerful swell. So the water levels are going to be into the flooding range as well. So that combination is going to could possibly bring significant impacts lingering into Friday and into the weekend.
And before we let you go, one thing I want to go back 2 slides, Shane, if you could join me again. What's one aspect of, you know, we were really focused on this evening, we're really focused on tomorrow morning, but what's one aspect with so much energy coming in? Can you talk a little bit about mid-tide? So, you know, potentially that water might stay there even past high tide?
That's right. Yeah. So especially with those that peak of wave energy, we could see overwash issues during mid-tide for that Wednesday evening. So like Wednesday night and then Thursday morning in between those high tides. That wave energy is so significant that it could bring wave run up over the dunes throughout the night.
So maybe even water in Highway 12, not just at high tide, but overnight tonight for a longer period. All right, thank you. Hopefully that added some clarity and some detail to some of the tidal issues, especially oceanside areas. We're going to shift gears now and focus a little bit farther to the south and kind of emphasize some things on Soundside. So still 2 to 4 feet of surge oceanside, but it's going to be a persistent northerly wind really picking up tonight and during the day tomorrow. So we do think we'll have some higher water levels down toward the southern part of the Sound. So Hatteras Village, Ocracoke, we do expect some coastal flooding with this storm, but we really want to emphasize it's not a case where all the water is pushed one way, the storm moves away and it sloshes back. This is not a rapid water level rise situation. This is more typical Soundside of what you would see with a persistent storm off the coast, gradually ramping up, and that's what we're seeing with this graph. So for Hatteras, for example, Soundside, again, this is specifically Soundside, maybe some minor flooding as we get into Thursday evening. This is all because of that strong northerly wind that will be very persistent throughout Thursday. So please keep that in mind, some very minor issues. This goes for Ocracoke Village and also Hatteras itself, Soundside. Don't expect it to be more than minor. But just kind of keep that in mind while we're really stressing Oceanside. We don't want to let your guard down on Soundside. Now, farther south, a lot of our focus has been the Outer Banks because that's where we think the most severe issues will occur. But as we get south of Lookout, we do expect some issues down East Carteret County, over toward the Harlow area, Cedar Island, some of those parts of the Lower Neuse and Southern Pamlico Sound, just like Ocracoke and Hatteras, persistent northerly wind, tropical storm force gusts may be sustained for a brief period of time. That's where we do think the water will start to pile up. And then as we get on Oceanside, we're concerned with some issues down toward North Topsail, specifically with some of that wave energy that Shane was talking about. So as far as values go, this has not changed. 1 to 3 feet of coastal flooding, Soundside areas, Lower Neuse River, places like Harlow. Again, we mentioned Cedar Island, not a rapid level rise, but kind of slowly coming up over the next 24 hours. And those water levels may stay elevated, if not causing flooding, but at least elevated into Friday or Saturday. And then Oceanside, still seeing some beach erosion, especially as you get from Atlantic Beach westward, kind of away from the Cape itself. And then places like North Topsail Beach, we have 1 to 3 feet, but it could be locally higher. So some of those vulnerable stretches of North Topsail toward the north end of the island, that's where we think we could have our greatest concern in terms of storm surge on Oceanside. This is a gauge in Beaufort, just to give you a little flavor. Overall, Morehead City area, Beaufort, Bogue Sound, we've been getting a lot of questions on that. We do think we'll have some elevated water levels, nothing too drastic, but we are heading toward a period of higher tides. We've had a lot of water inland, so that's all running off into our sounds. And then we do have some water, from Erin itself. So overall, the water, just driving into work, I noticed this morning we're a little higher than normal. So getting up into moderate action stage or moderate stage potentially on Friday and also into the weekend. So for a lot of us, even though the storm's departing, it's going to take a while to get back some of those lower water levels, even the local sounds such as the Pamlico Sound and Bogue Sound. As far as winds go, tropical storm warning, that is unchanged. Still expecting mainly tropical storm force gusts and sustained tropical storm force winds along the immediate coastline. This hasn't changed. So if you drew a line from Columbia to Beaufort east, that's where we have the best chance for tropical storm force winds, and that's where the tropical storm warning is in effect. This will be a mainly north to northeast wind, so that's why the water will pile up in places like Cedar Island. Our strongest winds by far along the immediate Outer Banks, Pamlico Sound, and just offshore. Those are locations that could see some sustained tropical storm force winds. The period is tonight through tomorrow, and then tomorrow evening the wind starts to relax, and we're breezy Friday, but certainly not as windy as we expect during the day tomorrow. We've done a great job as a community messaging this. I know some beaches are closed in our area. I think this message has gotten out. What we need to remember as we get into the weekend, Erin departs Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Potentially we still could have some rough seas. We'll have to take a look at that here in the office, and then farther up the East Coast into New England, messaging that rip current threat, because it will be a high threat potentially for multiple days even after Erin leaves, something we'll have to look at in the office.